Hey, before we get started, just want to remind you folks of Mohawk Honda, our wonderful sponsors based out of Scotia, Glenville. This spring, I've been saying it for a while now, basically ever since we started Cady's Corner a month and a half ago, that spring is the perfect time to get top dollar for your trade in at Mohawk Honda because they still have their Kelly Blue Book instant cash offer going on right now. You don't have to wait 3 to 5 business days, no 1 to 3 weeks. No, 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 no. You bring that used vehicle of yours to their lot in Scotia, Glenville. You're going to check same day you are there at the dealership for the amount of the vehicle that you deserve to get. You deserve to get the amount that they give you. They're not going to hamstring you. They're not going to nitpick you. They're going to give you exactly what that vehicle's worth. Or, hell, do some homework ahead of time. Go to mohawkhonda.com. Go to their social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, etc. Search for Mohawk Honda. Check out their new inventory and even check out their certified pre-owned used inventory where they have certified pre-owned used vehicles with as little as 2,000 miles, if that, on their lot. That's right. I said less than 2,000 miles. We're not talking about, you know, old vehicles that have been sitting on the lot for years and years. We're talking like 2019s, 2020s, even 2021s that are on the lot. Some of those used vehicles do have minimal, if any, mileage on them. So make sure you go check them out right now. As all Mohawk Honda sales and leasing consultants will work with you to find the best vehicle for your budget and your lifestyle, whether you're a single parent, you just got engaged, maybe you have a growing family of 1, 2, 4, 19 kids, whatever it may be. All the sales and leasing consultants are ready to work with you over at Mohawk Honda in Scotia, Glenville, where this spring is Kelly Blue Book Instant Cash Offer Spring. That's right, Mohawk Honda, where they always go out of their way to please you. And that being said, it's episode 6 of Cady's Corner. We're ready to roll. Another week of baseball is in the books. A lot of good and some pretty bad. Well, let's just get the bat out of the way and start with the Boston Red Sox. I mean, they are abysmal. That's putting it nicely. They are abysmal. Um, it's it's rough out there, and they just finished up a series with the Braves. They have today, Thursday, May 12th, off, and then they get to go to Texas for 3. They visit the Rangers. Then they come home for 3 against the Astros Monday through Wednesday. So, you know, they get to split their time with Texas teams coming up in the next week. And just this team just is downright abysmal. It's just I don't even know how to put it. Like we keep pointing out the same issues time and time again with this team. We keep pointing out the lack of run support. We keep pointing out the poor pitching. You know, the good pitchers that are in this rotation, this bullpen, they're doing what as much as they possibly can within the restraints, the constraints, I should say, of what they're able to do with their arms. It's just a rough going out there, man. It's a rough sledding for this Red Sox team, and just take a look at them. Like I, they're. I can't even put into words just how bad they are. Like I'm struggling to find words. Like they're 10 games, 11 games back of the Yankees, a good 6 to 7 back of Tampa, 5 or 6 back of Toronto. They are the phrase I like to use for teams, players, coaches that are a hot mess. The phrase I like to use is they are lost in the sauce. Now, some might interpret that as an alcoholic term. It's really not. It's really, really not. The way I interpret it is when you're in too deep without being willing to recognize you're in too deep. That's what lost in the sauce means to me. And that's exactly what this Red Sox team is right now. And they just can't find a proper solution. And really, when you think about it, you have to say they're one of the 3 teams in Major League Baseball right now that are underachieving and disappointing so far through these first 5 to 6 weeks of the Major League Baseball season. The Red Sox, well below 500. The Braves, a few games under 500. And the White Sox, barely over 500. I mean, it's, the White Sox in their game yesterday on Wednesday, they end up, let's see here. I'm trying to find the game. Oh, that's right. It got postponed because of COVID. But I mean, this is a Chicago team that should be dominating the AL Central. Dominating. They have the pitching makeup. Their bullpen shouldn't be nearly as bad as it has been. Liam Hendricks has turned into a choke job one time after another. It's not like they have a ton of injuries. They have Moncada, they have Anderson, they have Jimenez, they have Abreu. What the hell is the problem with this White Sox team? So, if you got a list of disappointments in Major League Baseball, the Red Sox are top three. But I'd have, even though they have the worst record of these three teams, I think you still put the Red Sox as the third most disappointing team in baseball right now. I think put the Chicago White Sox at one, the Braves just behind them at two, and then you put the Red Sox at three. But I got to tell you, if the White Sox find their stride and keep it consistently, like it seemed like they were kind of were the last week or two until they suddenly slipped up again, or if the Braves suddenly start to get hot and knock off teams they're supposed to knock off consistently, then this could all violently change real quick. And here's the worst part: the Red Sox have one of the five worst records in Major League Baseball right now. The Reds are 7-24. The Tigers are 9-22. The Royals are 9-18, 9-19, something around there. Just atrocious baseball. Um, just it's horrible. The Nationals are 11-21. We already mentioned Cincinnati. What else we got here? Um, and Oakland and Texas aren't that much better than Boston right now. So, when's the last time you going into the season? Be honest, Red Sox fans, did you really expect people to be talking about your team in the midst of a group of teams like the Tigers, Royals, Reds, and Athletics? Probably not. But that's just how damn bad they've been. And I'm to a point now where I'm not even sure Chris Sale coming back from injury, whenever that may be, is going to save this team's season. I don't know if there is saving at this point, though. With the trend they are going, it's hard. It's going to be really hard for them to dig out of this hole with or without Chris Sale as time goes by. But as we turn to the Big Apple, as we turn to New York City, let's stop in Queens first. As the Mets continue to move along, they're how do we even define this right now? They are doing enough to maintain where they are in their division, but they're not doing enough to really totally impress anyone. Like between, let's just put it this way: you only want you. I'm trying to figure out how to put this in the words. You took two out of three from Philly in the end, with one game being postponed until later in the season of the original four-game set. You take two out of three. And then you've split your first two this week in Washington after a Monday off. And then you're playing this afternoon in Washington to wrap that series up. Then you have three home against Seattle and four against St. Louis. Then you go on a West Coast swing with three in Colorado and three in San Francisco. Let's just make something straight. The Mets right now, they're at a point where they are lucky they have a cushion. Okay, they've simmered down to a point where they're still 6 to 7 games ahead of Atlanta. They're 6 to 7 clear of anybody in the NL East. That's the one saving grace right now. Is that the Mets are kind of coasting and coming down back to earth, but they have enough cushion where it's not biting them in the ass yet, and they still have Jacob DeGrom waiting to come back hopefully sometime in the next 4 to 6 weeks. Eduardo Escobar just broke an 0 for 20 streak with a ninth inning single in last night's loss to the Nationals, where Tyler McGill had the absolute worst start of the season thus far, and maybe even the worst start of his short major league career to date, with what he did against the Nationals, giving up 8 runs in what was it, 2, 3 innings, I believe. Just not a good look for McGill. But the rest of the way, you take Escobar's struggles out of it. This is still a team that's putting up good numbers. Alonso, good average, great power, leading the team with 26 RBI. McNeil, batting around 330. That's great. Lindor, you'll take the 246 that keeps giving you 5 homers, 18 ribbies. and a chance to get on base 30 to 32, 33% of the time. Canha's batting just under 300. Nimmo's batting around 270, but he's getting on base 40% of the time. Starling Marte's putting up decent numbers. You're willing to take a little bad to go with the good. You're willing to sacrifice that little bit bad with the good. Dom Smith slowly creeping the average back up. JD Davis batting around 235. Guillorme's around 250. Jankowski still contributing off the bench very well. This is a squad that has the tools. Now it's about making sure you consistently go out and put your best foot forward. This is still a team, by the way, where when you factor in David Pearson, this is a team where if you go six deep, there's nobody with a whip over 1.36. There's only one pitch with an ERA over 3.5, and that's Taiwan Walker, who's only had 3 starts and has no decisions yet with a 5.28 ERA. This is Taiwan Walker is a guy that's basically still in spring training mode at this point, while Pearson's been sent back down with Walker coming off the IL, and you're still getting production from Bassett, from McGill, from Carrasco of all people, Max Scherzer. You're getting what you expect out of him, and then even the bullpen: Diaz, Drew Smith, Seth Lugo, Chase and Shreve. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Now, obviously, you don't like seeing anybody get hurt and go under the knife. But if you're going to lose a guy from that bullpen for the rest of the year, Sean Reed Foley is not the worst guy in the world to lose. You'd prefer losing him over Trevor May, who is on the IL, but it's only a 15-day injury. You prefer losing him not probably. You prefer losing him over Chase and Shreve and Ottavino and Lugo and Smith and Diaz. So if there was anyone to lose in that bullpen, Sean Reed Foley isn't the worst guy in the world to lose. I'm sorry, Sean, but it's the truth. And this team just keeps getting the job done, as I've been saying. They just keep on rolling. And then that comeback they made last week in Philly, well, they were down 8-1. Lindor, it's a 2-run bomb, makes it 8-3. Phillies fans are like, whatever. It's still a 5-run game. And the next thing you know, Knebel is blowing the lead and the game for them. Absurd. Absolutely absurd. Good on the Mets, though. And that goes to show you, by the way, and this is not a team that's going to roll over and quit. Even last night when they lost 8-3, they still got their first 2 hitters on with nobody out, first and second, before committing 3 outs in a row with, I believe it was Guillorme, Nimmo, and JD Davis. Not in that particular order. But McNeil and Escobar got back-to-back singles to start that ninth inning despite being down 5. So they still were showing some fight at the end, and that's what I like to see. That to me is the first victory of the Mets season. Is showing that you're not a team anymore that's going to roll over and die when people assume the game is over. You're not just going to wave the white flag and surrender. You're going to keep on fighting until that final out. That's a big notable difference between this team and, say, the Mets team of 3 years ago. This is a team that is willing to fight and wants to fight, not just for themselves, but I think for their manager too. Because as I mentioned last week, this is the first time a Mets team has had a legitimate manager that gets respected across the clubhouse, across management, across ownership in 20 years. Bobby Valentine. But let's just be blunt about it. It's the first time in 20 years. You can say Terry Collins, he got respect for 2 years because he happened to get to the playoffs back-to-back years, including a World Series that they lost to the Royals. We're talking consistent, continuing, long-term respect and admiration. That's what Bobby V had. Terry didn't have it. And I think Buck can get that if they keep on rolling the way they are. Now, that being said, what do you say about this New York Yankees team? Let me just throw out these stats real quick for you. All right? First team in Major League Baseball to get to 20 wins. 15-2 in their last 17 games. Best record in Major League Baseball by, I believe, a couple games. I'm going to double check that real quick. But best record in baseball regardless at 22-8, which sits 2.5 games clear of the Mets and a game clear of the Angels. There's also a squad that's 13-0 in games where they score 5 or more runs. which makes them 9-8. They're still above. So even in games where they score less than 5 runs, they're still above 500 at 9-8. All other games are 13-0. And I feel like that record when scoring less than 5 runs can only improve when things settle in and people again. It's not consistency. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. Garrett Cole has not had a consistent season thus far. He's had a very up and down season. Um, Severino is starting to find his stride, but has not been consistent at all. Tyone, excellent start against Toronto. Love what I'm seeing from him. Montgomery, overall, can't complain. We'll talk about Nestor Cortez in a second. But I mean, this team, man, this team, it's not like me to bloviate about the Yankees. As a Yankees fan, I always take things way more seriously and down to earth than we'll say 90% of Yankee fans to be conservative in this conversation. I've always been the realist among my Yankee fan friends. I've always been the one telling people we're going to have a crappy season, and then we do have a crappy season. All them come back to me and go, how did you know this? I'm the most realistic Yankees fan I know. Let's just put that all out there. All right. Every Yankee fan that I know is pie in the sky, World Series this, AL East title that, Boston sucks this. Like, it's enough. I want us to set those fans straight. That's what I've been doing the first 35 years of my life. Well, almost 35 years. But it's hard to complain about this team right now. You win 22 of your first 30 games of the season. You're the first team to win 20 games in the league. You've won 15 of your last 17. I mean, where is there to complain? It's I know. I know. You're probably sitting there like just kind of nodding your head and going, you're right, and I know I'm right. It's difficult to complain about this team right now. It really is. I mean, you have Aaron Judge hitting his first career walk-off home run Tuesday night in a game that was very heated between the two dugouts and the umpire crew, honestly. You got Chapman shutting the door on Wednesday's win, now making him third in franchise history with saves as a Yankee with 152. Obviously, number one is Mariano Rivera. Number two, number two is a good one. I automatically want to say Wetland, but I'm not 1,000% sure. I'm not 1,000%. I I really want to say Wetland, but I'm probably wants to lean towards Goose Gossage. Oh, Rigetti. I almost forgot Rigetti. Chapman is the guy. Excuse me. Goose Gossage is the guy Chapman just passed for third all time. Gossage had 151. Sparkle had 141. I can't believe I forgot Dave Rigetti. That's on me. But regardless, that's not the point of this exercise. The point of this exercise is that where do you complain about this team? Where do you complain? This team 1 through 26 is putting in work. The rotation about as consistent as it's been all year already so far. Chapman still a 0 ERA with 7 saves. Yes, he's only struck out 11. Yes, he's walked 7, but he still has pitched 10 and a third scoreless in 12 appearances with 7 saves. Clay Holmes, magical out of the bullpen. Miguel Castro is pitching terrific out of the bullpen. Chad Green, for the most part, pitching well in the bullpen. Michael King is a king out of the bullpen. Wandy Peralta is under a 2 ERA. Like, what is this? Right now, we got Tim Castro on the DL for this squad. And basically, this is where we are at with the Yankees. And this is something that I had to grow to accept very slowly over the first month and a half almost of the season. The Yankees basically looked at their roster, or at least Aaron Boone did, I'm assuming, or Hal Steinbrenner, Brian Cashman, whoever really sat down and examined this squad when they were cutting down to 26 at the end of spring training. This team essentially decided we're going to punt on catcher, which is usually a strategy used if you're playing fantasy baseball. Not usually, but some people do. It's an often used strategy by fantasy baseball players, including me. Although somehow I have a top five catcher on my team, I don't know how, but that's another conversation for another day. Basically, the Yankees decide to punt on catcher and hope the rest of the lineup works out. Where you're basically when you throw out the two catchers, Higashioka and Trevino, you're basically rotating when you incorporate like Castro when he's healthy, you're rotating 11 guys for 8 spots in the lineup, and then your two catchers rotate for the ninth spot. This is the only thing I'm going to nitpick about this Yankee team right now. There's only two players batting 260 or better in this lineup right now. Well, three. There's three players batting 260 or better in this lineup. Kiner Falefa is 264. DJ LeMahieu is 281 and has been going down over the last week. It was over 300 last weekend. Now it's down to 281. And Aaron Judge is at 290, leading the team. He's also leading the team with 10 home runs and in a three-way tie with 22 ribbies with Rizzo and Stanton. That's really the only thing I can nitpick about is the team batting average. That's it. And that's I don't even know how to I don't even know how to put it. Like that's that. Like throughout Major League Baseball, let me put it this way: Major League Baseball, the Mets and Rockies are tied for the best batting average in Major League Baseball at 256. The Yankees are 12th, tied for 11th with the Pirates and the Blue Jays at 237. The Red Sox are tied for 19th at 230. Now, I get that Major League Baseball in general has had a bit of an offensive dip this year for whatever reason. If you're a betting man, the unders have been hitting a lot the first 5 weeks of the season. I understand that. But as a squad, you're hitting under 240. That's not going to be acceptable as you get through the dog days and into the colder months again come September and October. So if there's anything to pick, it's that. Otherwise, I mean, the Yankees have been amazing. Nestor Cortez is a freaking god. And that's that. That's the best I can say about it. That's all I can really say. Yankees, by the way, their schedule coming up. They start a 4-game set at the White Sox tonight, and then they have a 4-game set next Monday, this coming Monday through Thursday in Baltimore. So an 8-game road trip for them, and then they will come. I believe they come right home, and well, yeah, they must because they play Monday through Thursday in Baltimore. Um, wow, way to go there, Brian. Then they come home for 3-3 against those same two teams. Three against the White Sox and three against Baltimore. And they have no day off. If I remember the stat correctly, after last night's game yesterday's game against Blue Jays, after that, I believe he's looking at something like 24 games in 22 days. I mean, let's just look at the rest of the month of May, and they don't have a day off until Memorial Day. The Yankees play every single day from now until Memorial Day, which means they're in a stretch of, if you include the doubleheader from Sunday against Texas, or excuse me, Texas. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that's what 22 games in 21 days, if my math's correct, or 23 games in 22 days, something like that. It's right in that range there. And then they finally get an off day on Memorial Day before they welcome the Angels and Tigers for 2 3-game series in the Bronx. So this is really, I think, going to be the first stretch of the season that really tests the Yankees' mettle because of the lack of an off day until the very end of the month. They have to play baseball for 3 entire weeks straight without a day off. And you factor that in with the travel that they're going through, because the one saving grace I will give for them, the one saving grace, they don't go anywhere west of Chicago before then. The furthest west they go is this weekend in Chicago. Then they go to Baltimore, come home for Chicago and Baltimore, go to Tampa, day off. And then they host the Angels. And in fact, they don't go west of Minneapolis until, I mean, this is absurd. They have a makeup game in Houston Thursday, June 30th. At least I believe this is a makeup game. I could be wrong, but they have a single game scheduled for June 30th in Houston, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but maybe that's just how things worked out with days off and whatever. And then after that, they go back to Houston for a doubleheader on the 21st of July, which I know they've been building doubleheaders into some of the scheduling this year. They don't make a trip west of Chicago, Houston until early August when they go to Seattle for a three-game series. And that's a funky road trip because they start in St. Louis, then go to Seattle, then come back to the East Coast for Boston, then go home. They go back out west at the end of August for four in Oakland and three at the Angels. So it's a wacky travel schedule, but they're not going past the middle of the country for another 3 months. So you take the bad with the good. The bad, you're playing 3 weeks straight. The good, you're not traveling anywhere further west than Chicago. So you're not going to have that mess up from the sleep, the time change. It all works out. It all works out. That's the best way for me to sum it up, really. Real quick, though, to wrap things up, a little bit of history that we almost witnessed this week, and something I feel like people need to pay a little more attention to. First off, the history we almost got was we almost had two no hitters and a cycle within 24 hours. Tuesday night, we had Reed Detmers pitch a no hitter for the Angels against Tampa Bay. That same night, Justin Verlander of the Astros came 5 outs away of a no hitter before giving up a single in the top of the eighth. And then Wednesday afternoon, in a 14-11 loss against the Reds, Christian Yelich of the Brewers hit for the cycle. The third time he's done that in his career, and all three of those cycles have been against the Cincinnati Reds. I can't make this crap up, folks. That's the stats, all right? Baseball is a weird statistical game. I don't know what to tell you. But the real thing I want to wrap up with, if you are any of the other 25 teams in Major League Baseball outside of the division I'm about to talk about, just cross your hearts and thank your lucky stars. Because if you're not paying attention to the National League West right now, you better. Now, granted, the Dodgers are the cream of the crop right now. They're the class of the division. That was pretty much expected. But San Diego's right in the thick of it. The Giants have woken up from a slumber they were in the first couple of weeks. The Diamondbacks are somehow playing great baseball, over 500 right now. And the Rockies are the NL West is the only division with all five teams over 500. Think about that. The AL East has three. The AL Central has three. Although I have to double check. Not entirely sure I'm correct on that, but we'll go with that. Um, I believe Cincinnati won today. Yeah, I mean that's Cincinnati. Cleveland. All right, Cleveland was postponed. That's right. So you have three in the AL Central. All right, two in the AL West. Only one team above 500 in the NL East, the Mets. Two in the NL Central. So you have as many teams over 500 in the NL West as the AL West, NL East, and NL Central combined. And almost as many as the AL East and AL Central combined. They have six, the NL West has five. That is absurd. Absurd. The separation from top to bottom of that division is 5 games. 5 games. The NL West, at least so far, is not a cakewalk. Now, obviously, the Diamondbacks and the Rockies are not in the same class as the Dodgers, Padres, and Giants. We know that. They'll cool off eventually. But for the time being, enjoy it while you can. Because I don't know how much longer this kind of competitive baseball is going to last in the NL West. but try to stay up past your bedtime if you can and catch some NOS games while you're at it. Or if you can find them during uh, prime weekend positions, whether it be on ESPN, FS1, TBS, wherever, Apple TV Plus, whatever you're catching MLB games on. Hell, if you have MLB at bat or their league pass, go check out some West Coast games if you had a chance. Or if you get a chance to watch a weekday matinee game out west, a 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock first pitch, go watch them. I'm telling you, the NL West is a very dangerous division that's been overlooked and deserves more credit than it's been getting so far this year. That being said, thank you very much for checking out episode 6 of Cady's Corner, presented by Godzilla Media. And as always, sponsored by our good friends over at Mohawk Honda in Scotia Glenville, where they always go out of their way to please you. I appreciate you tuning in. Don't forget, the Sox, they are playing 6 more games off today. Then they're in Texas for 3, home for Houston for 3. The Mets, they have their matinee today at Washington before 3 at home against Seattle and 4 at home against the Cardinals. And the Yankees, they keep on going. 4 at Chicago, 4 at Baltimore. They just got to keep on trucking. That's all there is to it. Until then, until episode 7, enjoy your week, enjoy the baseball, and we'll see you next time, folks. See ya.